Now, given that the fresh, live fish and shellfish export industries have greatly suffered through the additional red tape and expenses encumbering them post-Brexit, do you believe, A, it is acceptable to leave these industries deal with these huge encumbrances on their own? B, do you think it is advisable that the UK fisheries trade deficit should continue on its current downward spiral? And C, can I please discuss your answers with you on air?
Stand by.
Well, you are discussing...
That last one was addressed to me, I think.
I see, yes, you are discussing on air. So, Robin, thank you for calling in. The issue here is, of course, that the rules that the EU applies on the UK are not under our control. So they have a freedom to apply rules to us, and we do to them. But we obviously want to support the fishing industry and support it by the fact that it has new independence, and that independence will grow because there is a temporary scheme to allow continued foreign fishing, but that will end eventually. And so it's about ensuring that the British fisherman is able to get to the best stocks in UK territorial waters. And ultimately, if the EU or member states of the EU want to import these goods, they will need to make it reasonable to do so. And they have made some ameliorations to their rules since we finally left, because they actually want to buy these goods. And so it becomes market forces that determine what the level of regulation becomes. But initially, we have to remember the EU was very cross that we'd left, and they wanted to make life as difficult as possible.
Robin, how long have you been in the fishing industry, sir?
I've been in the fishing industry 50 years.
Can I ask you, since Brexit, has it got better? Has it got worse? Was it roughly where it was before, and why?
Well, basically, I disagree with Jacob's summary of that, because basically EU regulations and laws have been in place for over 2 decades, which includes any third country, which we have now become since we've left the EU. These rules and regulations are to guarantee food security and food standards. The standards that they hold are still the same as before Brexit. The standards that we hold now have had to change because basically, A, we have polluted waters, which the government voted to continue putting more sewage into our inland seas and estuaries. This has grossly affected the water quality. We now have 90% of British waters are classified B, not A, which means they have to be depurated before they can be sent abroad, and it causes immense problems on paperwork.
Will you accept as someone a lifetime in the industry? He's saying it's not as good as it was. Brexit has made it worse. Jacob Rees-Mogg, why is he wrong and you're right?
No, what I am saying, what I'm going to say, is that the EU regulations have always been a form of protectionism, that the UK industry is not fundamentally less safe than it was before we left the European Union. The water quality is designated on the same basis as it was before we left the European Union. Actually, the Environment Act tightened up the rules on what water companies could do. So they've got stricter rather than laxer since we left the European Union. But the EU uses non-tariff barriers as a means of protecting domestic markets, and that's what it's always done. That was one of the problems with the EU, because it forces prices up for consumers.
So finally, you're saying the British fishing industry is healthier as a result of Brexit than it was a number of years ago, Mr. Rees-Mogg?
What I'm saying is that the standards applied in food production in this country have not deteriorated since we left the European Union.
But is the fishing industry healthier?
And water quality is actually improving, and those regulations were tightened in the Environment Act. But I absolutely accept Robin's point that the EU is applying non-tariff barriers to make life difficult for British fishermen, but that is because of the doctrine of the European Union. It is not because of the doctrine of the UK government.
So it is tougher to be a fisherman or fisherwoman as a result of the EU's activities?
Hold on, it depends entirely on the circumstances and which market you're dealing with, because some of our own waters we now have more access to.
Right.
But there are some barriers, non-tariff barriers to trade that the EU has imposed.
Robin, safe fishing, thank you. Brenda's in St Ives.